First one is a self-confident leader is clear on what they stand for. They've worked that out. So there's a sense of clarity on the kind of leader that they aspire to be, or the kind of leader that they are, and that is a subset of the kind of human being that they are. So there's an integration between the kind of leader that they are and the kind of person that they are. And so they're not trying to kind of disintegrate those two things. One is a subset of the other. So they're clear what they stand for in different emotional and relational situations or contexts. So if they are clear on who they are as a human being and then who they are as a leader, then from there they can imagine how that might apply to various different situations. Like, for example, when they're doing public speaking, when they're in a meeting, when they're facing maybe high risk situations. That is, it's important that they come across well, that they communicate well. When they are facing difficulty, when they're put on the spot, when people are challenging them, they've kind of worked out how they want to be, what kind of human being they want to bring into those particular situations. And moreover, they know that it's not so much about what they get from those situations. It's more about orienting their mind to what is right, and not just what appears to be right in this moment for one's, let's say, immediate emotional pleasure. Like doing well in a meeting because everybody's agreeing with you and it's all going well and everybody thinks you're great, is not what self-confident leaders are really after. What they're after is how they're showing up in line with who they are, how they're expressing their values, how they're showing up. They're less concerned about how others are seeing them in the moment. So, quite like what Rasmus talks about, what Rasmus Hogarth says about this. He talks about the idea of egoless self-confidence, that self-confidence arises from knowing one's ego and knowing how one's ego may interfere with a person being able to show up in a way that appears to be self-confident, or in a way that is self-confident, because it's the existence of the ego, and it's when the ego is feeling damaged that the ego will drive behaviors that are less than self-confident. So if you imagine in the limit whereby a person has, because you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have any ego invested in this." I hear this quite often. Well, just because a person says that doesn't really affect the probability of that actually being true too much. So when a person says that to me, I normally kind of just brush it off, because whether a person says that or not, I know whether a person has ego invested through the way that they're showing up. So, but if you imagine in the limit that there is genuinely no ego invested in something, then what would that individual therefore be concerned with? If he's not concerned with keeping his ego intact, his or her ego intact, then what are they concerned with? If you think about it. Well, what they're concerned with is doing the right thing. Well, what does that mean, doing the right thing? Well, it means doing the right thing in the context of what is right for the widest relevant system. Whether it could be me, sometimes maybe it could be me, sometimes it's me and my team, sometimes it's me and my team and the company at large. Sometimes it's the customers, it might be the staff, it might be the organization, it might be the ecosystem in which the organization sits, or it might be the world in which that ecosystem sits, or it might be the universe in which that world sits. So, and generally speaking, an individual that is showing up confidently is oriented to something bigger than just their own immediate emotional well-being, but more oriented to something which is bigger than just only that. And also taking that perspective in a longer time frame rather than just, when I say oriented to more than just one's immediate well-being. The word one in that is important. So more than one, something bigger, more than immediate, something longer term. And ego gets in the way of that because ego is concerned with one's immediate emotional well-being or emotional comfort and or discomfort. That's what ego is concerned with. Ego wants to keep itself whole now, and now. And doesn't even like to predict that, at some point in the future, something's going to hurt the ego. It creates a strong emotional reaction that drives non-self-confident behavior.